They didn't even know my name. Not once in over 2 years had I seen it on an org chart, an internal memo, or even a Slack thread. I was buried under 3 shell contracts, working out of my unfinished basement in Fort Wayne, Indiana, showing up every day like a ghost. My name's Alan. I'm 38. Been doing back-end compliance architecture since before some of these Bellcroft guys were out of college. I wasn't an employee. Technically, I was a third-party vendor. Regulatory integration compliance support, Tier 2, whatever the hell that meant on paper. But what I really was. The reason their banking systems didn't collapse every other week. You know all that invisible tech no one thinks about until it breaks? That was me. My code handled the real stuff. Lockouts, audit trails, credential mismatches, regulatory gates. Without it, Bellcroft would have had a dozen federal violations and no banking partners left. I was the firewall they didn't know they had. Only one guy really got it, Owen, the CFO. He didn't care about job titles or LinkedIn fluff. We had a system, bi-weekly calls, 20 minutes tops. I told him what was stable, what was critical, and what was about to explode. He listened, signed off. No ego, no games, then he just vanished. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? No warning, no announcement. One Monday, I logged in for our usual sync. No invite. Checked again Wednesday, nothing. I pinged him, nothing. Friday, I called the old number he gave me the first time we spoke, voicemail. A week later, I heard from a guy in accounting that Owen had gone out on medical leave. Serious, maybe long-term. But no one seemed to know for sure. The scariest part? There was no backup plan. Not for me, not for the system. Nobody else even knew I existed. At first, I figured someone would pick up the thread. Maybe legal or IT security. I waited, but the silence stretched into weeks. No calls, no check-ins, nothing. Just the same project folders piling up in my repo, untouched. I was still doing the work, keeping the engines running, but now, no approvals, no oversight. I was reporting to no one, flying blind. It was like watching your own shadow disappear in real time. I wasn't just invisible, I didn't exist. Then Brent showed up, VP of Operational Strategy, whatever that was supposed to mean. Guy walked in like he owned the place. New LinkedIn banner, fresh haircut, blazer with no tie. He looked like someone who practiced his smile in the mirror. I saw the calendar invite first, a 30-minute block called Org Optimization Alignment. No agenda, no details, just Brent's name and a Teams link. I joined with my camera off, watched him strut through slides like it was a TED Talk. Transparency sprints, ownership cycles, strategic stack simplification. He said all of it like it meant something. I knew right away. He was swinging that MBA like a bat, trying to smash anything that didn't fit his theory of efficiency. Then he said it. We've got back-end legacy drift. We're looking to sunset. Contractors that don't tie directly to an active headcount. Dead weight, essentially. He wasn't looking at me, probably didn't even know I was in the meeting, but I felt it land like a punch. Who's the back-end compliance guy again? He asked someone off mic. No one answered. That was the first time I heard myself get reduced to a rumor. The back-end compliance guy, not Alan, not the architect of the thing holding their systems together. Just some faceless vendor Brent didn't think was worth looking up. So I shut up, stayed quiet, observed. He started poking around, renaming folders, canceling recurring syncs, spinning up visibility audits with titles like Digital Stack Modernization Review. Every week it was a new thing, new document, new bullet points, and all of it smelled like setup. He was gutting the place from the top down. Within a month, entire teams got repurposed. I saw engineers disappear from repo logs mid-sprint. DevOps leads sent out farewell emails at 9:02 p.m. on Fridays. Brent loved Friday terminations. Less noise. No one reached out to me, not once. I just kept pushing compliance patches, running quiet integrity checks, flagging credential drift that no one even knew existed. Brent was too busy posting team selfies on Slack to realize the system he was streamlining was already starting to wobble. The mold was growing, so I did what I always do when I see it coming. I documented everything, pulled access logs, captured config snapshots, tracked every timestamp, and I built something new, a watermark, Not visual, not labeled, just logic. I buried it inside the compliance core, layered into the credential audit functions, embedded in the heartbeat checks. Subtle, invisible, but critical. If someone started stripping out my code, mislabeling functions, or overwriting certain keys, the system wouldn't just break, it would respond. Gracefully, legally, locking down what needed to stay untouched. Blocking unauthorized tampering before it snowballed into breach territory. And the beautiful part, no one would know it was there unless they tried to break it. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it because I'd seen this kind of guy before, 6 times to be exact, same haircut, same titles, same slogans. They walk in, pull the rug, don't even realize the building has a foundation until they're standing in a sinkhole. And every time, the code had to speak for itself. No emotion, no drama, just pure logic. That watermark was my line in the sand. They wanted transparency? Fine. Let the system tell the truth when someone tried to rip it apart. That was it. Cold, robotic. But I knew exactly who it came from. Brent. I didn't respond. I didn't forward it. I just sat there, reading it twice, then once more. Felt my chest go still for a second, just long enough to know I wasn't surprised. I didn't panic. I opened the terminal, ran a full integrity scan on the compliance environment, and pulled the credential snapshot logs for the last 90 days. Then I backed it all up, encrypted and saved to a hardware drive I hadn't touched since 2017. Still had dust on it. This was the move before the move. I'd seen it before. Brent was getting ready to kill the lights without knowing what he was unplugging. By noon, there was a calendar invite waiting for me. Weekly sync, strategic access review. Time, Monday, 8:30 a.m. Attendees, just me and him, no notes, no prep doc, just a meeting title and a knife behind the curtain. That was the tell. He was going to play cordial, maybe ask a couple softball questions, feign interest, and then drop the line. We've decided to sunset your role. I'd heard it before, word for word. But this time, it wasn't going to be clean. Because what Brent didn't know was that the watermark I'd built, it was live, active, watching. And it wasn't designed to punish anyone. This wasn't some petty tripwire. It was protection, legal, ethical, locked inside the code. The moment someone tampered with my credential set, especially someone without proper offboarding logs, it would trigger a soft lockdown on the bank-side integration layer. Not a system crash, not chaos, just a shield snapping into place. And because my code didn't live in any one place, because it was woven into their core pipeline, there was no way to pull me out without touching it. I didn't leave any user-facing warnings. No flags, no "are you sure" prompts. It was built for when someone tried to force their way through without knowing what they were stepping on. That was Brent. He didn't know the difference between logging out and deactivating a credential. He was about to learn what it meant to delete the wrong name from the wrong system without understanding how it all held together. And the moment he did, the banks would see it. Not because I called them, not because I ran some panic script, but because their own systems would start asking questions. Credential mismatch, audit chain broken, unauthorized access event. That's how the alarms would go off. Not loud, not dramatic. Just quietly, surgically, where it mattered most. So, I left the scan running, closed the drive, shut the laptop. Then I stood up, stretched, and made myself a sandwich. Because I wasn't going to stop him, I was going to let him walk right into it. Monday morning, I showed up at 8:27 sharp. Office looked different, lights brighter, chairs rearranged, like someone had tried to scrub it of memory. Brent's door was already open, but he didn't look up when I walked in. No good morning, no handshake, no seat offered. Just him, standing behind the desk with a smug calm like he was about to deliver wisdom from a mountaintop. He held a paper in his hand. 1 page, thick letterhead, legal spacing. "Contract terminated," he said flat. "Effective immediately. Delete all company data from your devices. Per clause 17, all your work product is Belcroft's sole property, regardless of format or storage medium." I didn't blink, just watched his mouth move like I'd seen it all in a dream. He looked up, probably expecting me to argue. I didn't. I kept my voice steady. "Put it in writing." Without missing a beat, He slid the paper across the table. Ink signature, dated today. Real, formal. Like he'd practiced his signature just for this. I picked it up, folded it once, slid it into my bag. No words, no eye contact. I turned and walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't give him the satisfaction. I got in my car, drove home, went straight down to the basement, sat at the terminal like it was just another workday. Then I got to work. I deleted everything. Not just a quick recycle bin dump, I mean scorched earth. Local dev instances, backups, test harnesses, versioned modules, Git mirrors, sandbox databases, all gone. Even the drive I'd backed things up on, I wiped it, reformatted twice, let the encryption keys dissolve. Every command Brent gave me, I followed, word for word, click for click, because it didn't matter. The real control wasn't in those files. It was in the system itself. That watermark he couldn't see, it had already started counting. Credential mismatch, no verified offboarding procedure, deactivation event without proper sign-off. Those triggers didn't live on my laptop. They were part of the compliance architecture he'd just streamlined out of the company. And now that he'd yanked the credential without protocol, the compliance engine was doing exactly what it was designed to do. I opened a clean shell, checked the silent heartbeat logs, saw them pinging, slow, steady, precise. Same as always. But now they were reacting to a missing node, me. There was no alarm bell, no loud crash, just a quiet shift in posture, failover mode, protection sweep. Credential locked down, one level above Brent's clearance, buried in a module he probably thought was just legacy config. I closed the terminal, didn't even run a final script. There was nothing left to run. He thought he'd cut me out. What he really did was step on a landmine with a timer. And the best part, I never touched a single line after he handed me that memo. No sabotage, no tampering, no gray area, just pure chain reaction. It didn't take long. By noon, I was getting pinged. First on Signal, then through an old Slack workspace some of the engineers still used for side chats. Hey man, Brent said you left? Systems lagging hard. Compliance dashboards glitching. You good? Do we need to roll back something? I didn't reply, just read the messages and let them hang. I knew what they were seeing. The system wasn't crashing. It was bracing. At 1:46 p.m., the first external alert fired. One of Belcroft's regional banking partners flagged an anomaly. Unauthorized credential deletion without validated offboarding process. 17 minutes later, at 2:03 p.m., that same partner froze Belcroft's revolving line of credit. $18.5 million, locked, pending internal compliance review. And Brent, he was still in Slack posting about optimizing headcount and dropping hashtags like #lean-ops and #future-proof, clueless. You could almost hear the moment legal got involved. Threads started going quiet. Email activity spiked. Permissions audit kicked into real-time mode. And then the digging started. They couldn't find a single document verifying my offboarding. No formal termination notice. No access transfer logs, no credential sign-off. Just a ghost trail that ended with a revoked key. They searched the server, searched Brent's folders. Nothing. He hadn't filed a single thing with InfoSec or compliance. Just told me to delete all company data and walked off like he'd done something smart. But I had his memo, printed, signed, time-stamped, stored in a secure partition tied to my credential key. The same key that had triggered the compliance engine the second it was ripped from the system without following the right chain of custody. It wasn't just a memo anymore. It was evidence. And every minute that passed, the system was generating more of it. Internal logs, access trails, event traces mapping the exact moment Brent made the wrong call. By 2:30, I could tell from the pattern of activity that legal was moving fast. Someone kicked off a credential audit sweep across all third-party integrations. That only happened when someone whispered the words regulatory exposure. And I wasn't doing a damn thing. No code, no contact, no interference. Just sitting at home, watching the logs update like a slow-motion train wreck. At 3:12, I saw the update hit the dashboard. Compliance lockdown protocol triggered. Origin. Credential misalignment. Tier 1. Credential unknown deactivation. That was it. That's the line that always gets attention. Tier 1 means core financial access. Unknown deactivation means breach potential. And when those two flags hit the same report, the banks stop asking questions. They demand answers. Brent still hadn't said a word to me. Probably hadn't even realized it traced back to him. He thought he cut off some random back-end dev nobody cared about. He didn't get it. I wasn't the dead weight. I was the safety line. The one guy who knew how the scaffolding held together. The only one who never needed a spotlight to keep the damn thing standing. And now, they'd pulled the wrong bolt. Monday hit like a hammer. No emails, no warning, no whisper of prep. Owen just walked back into the office. Same gray suit, same expression, same quiet presence that used to hold the whole place together without anyone noticing. He moved like he'd never left. Like he'd just stepped out for coffee and came back to find the whole building tilted sideways. He didn't stop at his office. He went straight to legal, first sentence out of his mouth. Why was my compliance architect's credential flagged for unauthorized deletion? Dead silence. No one answered. You could hear the HVAC humming. Brent, of course, tried to recover, cleared his throat, tried to smile like this was a reasonable misunderstanding. He was just a contractor, he said. Legacy code base. We were doing cleanup ops, making sure everything aligns with current infrastructure strategy. Owen didn't blink. He reached into his folder and pulled out a sheet of paper, set it down like a playing card. My termination memo. The one Brent handed me, smug as hell. Printed, signed, time-stamped. No one said a word. Not legal, not IT. Not the junior guy sitting in the corner trying not to move. Then I watched it unfold from my side of the screen. One by one, legal started going down the checklist. Was there a deactivation request submitted to InfoSec? Was audit compliance notified? Was the credential tied to any Tier 1 infrastructure? They weren't asking Brent. They were reading, highlighting clauses, citing paragraphs from the same internal compliance protocol I'd helped design 2 years earlier, the same system Brent had no clue he was poking holes in. His smile dropped fast. We were moving fast. I didn't realize that credential shouldn't have been live anyway. This was about reducing tech debt. Every excuse sounded smaller than the last. Owen didn't raise his voice, didn't interrupt. He just stood there, arms crossed, watching Brent drown in his own spin. At 11:52 a.m., someone in security typed something into a laptop. Brent's badge access went dark. No announcement, no yelling. Just a quiet little message to HR, access frozen pending compliance investigation. He stood there for a second, like he didn't understand what had just happened. Looked around the room like someone was going to stop it. No one did. A minute later, 2 people from security showed up. One stood behind him. The other pointed toward the elevator. He didn't argue. Just walked out slow, hands in his pockets, face pale. Owen didn't follow. He just sat down in legal's conference room and opened his laptop like he'd been planning to work from there all along. No speech, no lecture, just, let's get this cleaned up. We both knew what pending investigation really meant. Brent was done. We need validation from the original architect. Attached was a single-use credential, read only. Just enough access to confirm what he already knew, but needed locked down in writing. No fluff, no meetings, just facts. I plugged into the cold terminal. Clean environment. Nothing cached, nothing lingering. The session opened like it always had. Quiet, utilitarian, mine. I ran the scan. Full chain, audit trail, event log. Took maybe 4 minutes. No flags, no noise. Just the truth stacked in time-stamped rows. Watermark was still there. Triggered at 8:51 a.m. the day Brent handed me that memo. Deletion logged under his admin ID. No escalation path, no compliance sign-off, no offboarding chain. Just a raw removal event tied directly to the credential logic Brent had dismissed as legacy. I cross-referenced it with the memo timestamp. Perfect match. System didn't even flinch. It did exactly what I built it to do. Protect the framework when someone stupid pulled the wrong wire. I exported the CSV, annotated it with one line. System behaved as designed. Sent it to Owen. CCD, the bank's compliance liaison. 3 minutes later, I got the reply. Investigation proceeding. Thank you. That was it. No back and forth. No request for elaboration. They didn't need it. The proof was in the logs, the memo, the triggers, the cascade that followed. Brent wasn't just a dumb hire anymore. He was a risk factor. The board saw it. The bank saw it. Hell, probably legal had it carved into a whiteboard by now. He'd tried to clean house by pulling the wires that kept the walls standing, and blamed the blueprint when the roof caved in. He didn't realize that by firing me, by skipping the protocols, by doing it on paper like it was just another checklist item. He'd handed me the kill switch, not that I'd used it. The system had. Brent didn't go quiet. He doubled down. Tried spinning the story every way he could. Said I was a rogue dev, that I built the system too complex on purpose, layered it with tech debt so I'd always be needed. He called it sabotage by design, told the board I made myself unremovable. Legal said nothing, and that silence, louder than any email chain. It sucked the air out of every meeting he walked into, the kind of silence that means, we're already done with you. Owen didn't argue either. He just dropped the full audit trail into the room. Credential ID, timestamp, deletion record, memo scan, triggered lockout. Line by line, everything matched. Brent's signature sat on the exact moment the system moved to protect itself. Nobody else said a word. Next morning, Brent's calendar went blank. Platform access revoked. Internal tickets reassigned to infrastructure leads. His Slack profile grayed out by 9:12 a.m. By 9:40, security was waiting for him in the hallway. He didn't make a scene, didn't even look confused, just grabbed his phone off the desk and followed them out with his head down, badge disabled before he made it to the elevator. They called it suspension pending internal review, but we all knew the truth. He wasn't coming back. I didn't log into any meetings that day. No need. I stayed home, basement quiet, just me and the terminal. Watched the logs roll in, credential sweeps clearing, audit queues dropping to 0, warning flags graying out. System was steady again, like it had taken a breath, and I hadn't lifted a finger. No patch, no manual override. I didn't need to restore anything. I'd already done the job before Brent ever opened his mouth. The logic spoke for itself. That night, my phone buzzed. Owen, let's talk reinstatement. I stared at the screen for a second, then locked it. Didn't reply. Not yet. At 5:09 p.m., I powered up a cold terminal. No saved sessions. No cached keys. Fresh boot. Isolated network. One-time access code from legal was sitting in my inbox. Read right, valid for 30 minutes. I opened my secure vault, pulled the original compliance module, the clean version. No patches, no watermarks. Just the raw baseline I built from scratch before any of this started. This wasn't revenge, wasn't leverage. It was restoration. Under the same legal scope it had always operated in. Brent hadn't corrupted the core. He'd just triggered the locks. I deployed the module. 12 minutes, start to finish. No errors, no warnings. Base triggers reactivated. Credential scan synced. Audit chain realigned. At 5:21, the bank dashboard flickered green. System audit passed. Integrity tier restored. Line of credit unfrozen. No one called. No one asked for an update. They didn't need to. Then I logged out. No ceremony, no ping. Just a quiet click and the screen went black. Brent was gone. Belcroft would spin it however they wanted. Internal misunderstanding, vendor miscommunication, process breakdown. Corporate language always finds a way to hide the mess. It didn't matter to me. I didn't need a statement. I didn't want credit.